I want to introduce Payton. And so he is a mental health therapist or practitioner, and you can correct me. He is the owner of Bear Company Counselors, and he also has a podcast called CYR for Clean Your Own Room.
There we go.
Look at me. I told you I've been stalking. All right. So, and if there's anything that I missed, please feel free to, add to whatever I missed, please. So please introduce yourself.
Yeah. No, I think you hit it right on the head. First of all, I appreciate you for having me on your show. It's an honor. Like anytime I get to just come on somebody else's platform and be able to share like what I know, my knowledge, my wisdom, my story, whatever it is, it's always like an honor to be able to be there. So I appreciate that. And like I said, you hit everything on the head. Like I own Bear Company Counseling. We've been running and functioning since 2022.
Okay.
Formally, I've been a therapist since about 2019.
Okay.
Currently, we got about 15 people, give or take, up at the office, really doing things, changing lives from administrative staff to therapists to all of that. So it's a blessing. It's a blessing.
That is amazing. And so...
Yeah. Real quick, I almost forgot. As a licensed therapist, I'm big on mental health, and I'm big on making sure that you're taking care of you. And I also want to get rid of this stigma that we got towards mental health. Like, there's nothing wrong with talking to a therapist. So if you're somebody that's out there that really wants to start getting their mind right, who wants to really start understanding their emotions and being able to process things that you probably repressed, that you probably ain't talked about, that you might have been even ashamed about talking about. Or check this out. You might not be ashamed about it and you just ain't found a person for you to talk to. You want to find somebody that's relatable, that can understand you, got a little swag, you know what I'm saying? A little swag. And they not too far removed. Make sure that you tap in with Bear Company Counseling. All you got to do is hop down in the description, click the link, put in your info, and the front desk rep will reach out to you and get you plugged in with a therapist that I promise you, as long as you're ready, will help you to get whatever you need right up here so that you can succeed in every other avenue and aspect of your life. Tap in with a therapist today at Bear Company Counseling. Now you can get back to the video for real. I promise I won't hop back in again.
I just want to do a little bit of, interviewing you before we really get into this. And so the first thing I'm going to ask you is, what inspired you to enter the profession? And I'm like, I read your background story. So you take full control of this and you share your story.
Yeah. So growing up, like I tell everybody this because everybody wants to know. Like you typically don't see somebody who looks like me in the mental health profession. It's cool. Mm-hmm. I got it. Okay. You don't see somebody like me in the mental health profession. Mm-hmm. And to be honest with you, like I never wanted to be in the mental health space in general, but God had different plans for me. Mm-hmm. I truly believe that everything in my life was orchestrated through like divine intervention to bring me to this spot so I can make the impact that I'm making. And so just like going through like a lot of trauma growing up, which I think a lot of young Black males do, you know what I'm saying? People in general do, but here in the city in particular, like a lot of us go through like trauma and we might not see it as trauma as we're going through it, but we just learn these different ways. Exactly. Yes. Exactly. But we learn these different ways to cope, different ways to mask. For me, it was smoking. I used to smoke a lot of weed. And so grew up since like 11, 12 years old, smoking weed. Around 13 years old, I started selling weed. And so like I found a lot of identity in that. That's something that I struggled with. Like I grew up being like a bigger kid, grew up being a kid that like I didn't know myself. And so I was looking for ways to like find a purpose within myself. Okay. And so like when people started affirming like, oh, you sell drugs? Cool. Oh, you smoke? Like, oh, what? Wow. And I'm in middle school. So it's like, okay, yeah, this is me. And so I did that all throughout like middle school, all throughout high school, and skated by, like never got caught with it. Got myself a college scholarship playing football out at Wayne State D2. And so I go out there and I try to bring the same mentality out there, right? Like, like, all right, I'm still selling, I'm still smoking, I'm still doing my thing. And, being a young Black man out in Wayne, Nebraska.
Kind of stand out like a sore thumb, didn't you?
Exactly. In ways that I thought was good at that time, because now like the identity, it like blew up even more. Being in Omaha, it's like, it's a smaller city, but people still know you. Being there, like everybody knows you. And so it's now it's like, oh, you can get it from him, you get it from him. And so I'm thinking I'm doing my thing. But one day that all comes crashing down. I get hit with felony drug charges. Looking at 10 to 15 years, I lose my scholarship. I get kicked out of school. Like, yeah, I was like, dang.
Wow.
Like I just lost everything. And so in this moment in time, like when all of that happened, I had a couple of choices. I could either take it to trial. They were trying to get me to cooperate with law enforcement. And I found out that neither one of those were options for me. I already knew option 2 was not an option. I wasn't cooperating. When they arrested me, like they had me trying to talk, and I'm like, I don't know, just take me where I gotta go. So they took me to jail. But option number 1, like I'm like, that's what I knew. Like, let's take it to trial, let's fight it, let's try to do this thing. And so when they pulled up the discovery, which is where they bring in all the evidence with your attorney, and I had a public defender because I wasn't smart with my money. I was blowing it on food, blowing it on other drugs, blowing it on all this stupid stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just...
You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. But when she brought the discovery in, like they had recordings, they had text messages, they had everything. And so it was pretty much like, you take this to trial, you just saying, I'm ready to go do this 10 to 15. Like, and so she told me like the only option that I had of avoiding prison time was to take up this thing called drug court, which is a problem-solving court here in the nation. And problem-solving courts, there's a whole bunch of different ones. Like they got like veterans court, they got young adults court, and they pretty much deter nonviolent offenders from having to do prison time through like rehabilitative measures. And I was just speaking on another podcast about this, but the problem-solving courts are good, but they were not built for Black and brown individuals. And so a lot of people who go through them struggle just because they're not equipped with the knowledge to be able to make it through. And they put you in environments and in situations that like you're in it right now, but then they release you back to your same place. For me, I was fortunate enough to have to do my drug court out in Norfolk, Nebraska.
So you didn't know anybody?
I didn't know nobody. I didn't know nothing. And that was probably one of the biggest benefits for me because I know a lot of people that went through like the drug court program here in the city, and they were like, it was the worst thing ever. Like, I hated it, and they didn't even make it through it, and they ended up having to go do prison time. But for me, like being out in Norfolk, in hindsight, it was the best thing ever. Going through it, it was the deepest depression that I was ever in, right? Like, I'm separated from everybody. I was in a small town where I at least had like other Black people, and I had my team, I had other athletes. There was purpose there. And now I'm in this other small town that I knew nothing about, that I knew nobody, that was like...
Sometimes you got to be on that island now.
100%. 100%. I'm actually... Side caveat real quick, I'm actually writing a book right now. One of the tenets in my book, it's gonna drop in July. Okay. So just a little soft promo.
That's right, put them shameless plugs in there, please.
You know what I'm saying? But one of the tenets that I have is like you have to separate yourself from your old version of you in order to create this new version of yourself.
Absolutely.
Like a lot of people want to be able to like embark on these journeys where they make these transformations, but they want to carry all the baggage in the same version of themselves into this new era.
Absolutely.
And you can't.
Cannot.
And you can't. And so that's why when I say like it was divine intervention, like God put me in a place where I literally was alone and isolated so that he could break me down and start to build me up into the person that he wanted me to be and the person that he needed me to be for his purpose.
Yes.
And so I'm out there and like I hit this bottom, like I'm depressed. I can't cope anymore with smoking. I can't cope anymore with drinking. I can't cope anymore with all these other escapes that I was looking for because I had to drug test 4 to 5 times a week. I had to go stand up in front of the judge for 3 hours on every Friday. I had to go to AA meetings 3 times a week. And again, Norfolk, Nebraska, I'm 18, 19 years old. Out there's 40-year-olds plus who are addicted to meth, who are like severely dependent on alcohol.
Right.
And so I'm just like, man, what is this? I had to go to IOP, which is intensive outpatient treatment. And for those of y'all that don't know, that's 9 hours a week. That's 3 hours for 3 days a week, plus an hour of therapy once a week. And my therapy lasted for 18 months. I had to go to, what else? Relapse prevention, 26 weeks. Aftercare, 26 weeks.
They
MRT,
wasn't playing with you.
They wasn't playing. It was like 2 years. It was 2 years of that. Yeah, and so like,
and this was your first offense?
This no.
Okay, never. You're like, okay, maybe not.
So where I was goofy was like 2 months before, 2 or 3 months before, and this is how they started building the case on me. I used to drive back and forth from Omaha like every 2 to 3 days to pick up a quarter pound. And I was driving back one time with some of my homies, and it wasn't my truck, fortunately. Otherwise, like I would have got hit with a lot more. But I had like a quarter pound in my truck bed, which is relatively, it's not a lot compared to like what people do.
You're talking to somebody that's like quarter pounder with cheese. I don't. But okay, we're gonna say it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's like 3.5 ounces. 3.5 ounces.
Okay.
She's like, yep.
Okay.
But I was driving back with that, and we got bumped up, and that's where I caught my first charge. Luckily, I had some money there, and I was able to beat that charge, get it dropped down to an infraction. It was just a misdemeanor charge because I had everything in one. This is just legal jargon. But from there, they started building the case on me. Like, my name was in there.
On you. Okay.
Exactly. And see, I didn't learn, but I wasn't meant to learn at that time. I was meant to learn at this time right here.
Right.
But back to this whole process, the one part that really made an impact for me was having to work with my therapist and being separated from everything that I knew and not having any other maladaptive or like unhealthy coping skills that I could utilize. And so my therapist was like, I see you for more than just like this drug charge. Like, let's really start to dig into some of the stuff that you're dealing with.
Right.
And like, I started to unpack a lot of the traumas that I had been like struggling with for all of my life, you know. And as I'm doing this, I'm like, there's a lot of people in my city who don't get an opportunity like this, that don't have somebody that they can talk to, that they feel comfortable about talking to, that they can really open up with. Like, I like this. I like this. This is liberating. I want to be able to help other people liberate. And so to kind of plug back into my story where I had to move away and I lost everything, like 6 months later into me doing my drug court thing, like from doing everything that I needed to, I was able to earn my way back into school. I was able to earn my way back on my football team. I was able to earn my scholarship back. And so like I ultimately graduated like a college athlete. All of that stuff. And I also got a job out in Norfolk working at a social work agency, working with other juveniles that were in the system, in the HHS system, at a day reporting center. And like, it started to spark a passion in me. I'm like, man, like they're going through some of the stuff that I was going through at this time. I'm like 21. And so like I related to them. And I'm like, man, I could really make an impact here. So started doing other stuff in the agency, started doing like family support, intensive family preservation, drug testing, all these different things. But it was a lot. It became a lot, 50, 60 hour weeks. I was getting paid good money, but it was just like the time wasn't mathing. And so I was like, how do I have the same impact but not work these type of hours?
Want to work smarter, not harder.
Exactly. And the people in my agency were therapists. And I was like, there we go. That's the move. Enrolled in UNO. 2017, came back and hit the ground running.
There we go. And you have your master's degree, right?
Got my master's degree.
When you going back?
I ain't got nothing to prove.
Okay, all right. I was just making sure.
Only reason I would go back is I like studying. I like learning. And so like, I got 5 kids. I don't want to take time away from them.
Yeah, because it is a sacrifice.
Exactly. So when they all out of school and they smelling their own stuff, like
you're like, maybe I'll reconsider. But no, it sounds like you have got a great foundation. Yeah. So I want to say thank you for sharing that story. I mean, I've read it, but I didn't get all that. So I really do appreciate you sharing all that. Second question that I have for you is, how does your background shape how you show up as a therapist?
I believe that we go through the things in life that we go through so that we can show up for the people that we need to show up for, right? I don't think I'm for everybody, you know, and I don't think
you can't be.
Yeah, you can't be. I don't think God created me for everybody. I think God created me for exactly who He needed me to be there for, and so I just show up as me. You know what I'm saying? In all situations, in all areas, and I think that's the freedom that I gained from becoming an entrepreneur as well too. Because when I was an entrepreneur, right, like I had to wear my dress pants, had to conform to like certain like structures,
policies and procedures and what they want. Yes,
exactly.
I get it.
And so now, like what I'm wearing right now, like this is what I show up to in my job. Like this is how
it's my stuff.
Yeah, this is my stuff. This is how I pull up. And I talk how I talk. I move how I move. I keep it I think how I move is professional.
Yes.
But I'm professional for the people I need to be professional for. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
So how I show up, it allows me to be able to relate with the individuals who know the experience that I have, and I know the experience that they have, and I can really make that impact there.
Oh my goodness. Okay. And then the last question I have for you, is there a specific population you feel that you're called to serve?
Yeah. So I really I really see an impact in my work being made with just like adolescent to young men who are aged probably like 12 to, they say around like 30, 40-ish, just because I know that experience, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of my story and a lot of the things that I went through, they relate to. And it's typically young Black males, but I'm not limited to that, but I just find that's like so much of what I've been through, like as they're talking, I'm like, oh dang, I've been there.
And they're probably drawn to you more than anything. And now that I have this extra piece of information, you're probably going to get a lot of referrals.
Come on.
I'm like, yes, I can absolutely refer people to you. Before we go any farther, we do have, like I said, the Culture Club. And so I just wanted to take a jump in there really quick and just acknowledge the people that are in there. Yanni, thank you for being here. And she said, top of the evening, beautiful people. Lyric Parker, hello. Mr. Soul, hey. Lita, hey. And then Yanni said, hey, you have some other shoes jumping in. So far, it's God. Yeah, so she's talking about you. Lyric Parker said that, wow, you started young. And then Yanni said, say that, young man. And then she said, yes, if we let it grow through what we go through, and what we go through is a story to share with others.
Exactly.
So, yes. And I relate to so much of the things that you're saying. And I'm like, but we're not going to talk about me today. It's all about you. And it's all about Men's Mental Health Month. And so, again, I want to thank you for coming to 87.9 The Culture and being part of Terribly Terrific. And so I don't know if you know a lot about the show, but the gist of it is that two things can be true at the same time. And so I always try to do a terribly terrific truth. And so today, my truth is I think that men are expected to stand alone, but no one heals alone. And so they're praised for being self-reliant even when they're drowning emotionally. And so, we have these two different parts. I also feel that men can carry the weight of the world, but they feel crushed by the weight of their thoughts. And so mental health doesn't care how physically strong you are. That doesn't matter when it comes to that. And so the goal of what I want to cover today is to really explore some of the barriers of why men do not seek out help or treatment for their mental health. And at any point in time, because you have an abundance of experience, and I'm going to let you go, because usually I try to have kind of a structured thing, but we can just kind of bounce things off because this is kind of my playground as well. So I felt like, no, we're just going to let this ride. Whatever way we go, we go. And so what do you feel are some of the barriers that prevent men from seeking out help?
Well, I think when you just look at history in general, if we really take it back, I think mental health is kind of this new concept for a lot of men, and I think like when you look at it just among different cultures, right? There were times where I'm gonna try not to get too off of the question, but I gotta go here, right?
No, go ahead.
There were times where men were called to war, and so like when we're talking about mental health, like you can't deal with your mental health when you about to go into battle, right? And when we look at battle, for me as a Black man, right, like there are so many battles that we were placed in, from the battle of racism, from the battle of segregation, from the battle of just every day, like trying to be accepted. In places and in spaces where you're not accepted, it's hard to sit back and have time to just be like, how do I feel, right?
Right.
when everything else is on your shoulders, when you're called to lead and people are telling you called to lead. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like the example is being showed, like you're supposed to lead. And so, right, if I'm supposed to lead and I know all of this weight is right here, I'm trying to figure out every way that I can carry it and not show that I'm about to break. And I think that's like a vicious cycle that people are in. Because the truth of the matter is, right, like if your mental health is not right, like nothing else is going to be right.
Not gonna matter.
Everything else that you're doing is for what?
Yeah.
It's for nothing. Because throughout that, if you show this example of like, I never cracked, I never broke, I never felt anything, you're setting this unrealistic expectation for people that in order to get through this, or in order to show up, like I can't feel. But the reality is you are feeling.
You are feeling. Yeah.
You're just not showing how you're dealing with your feelings.
Or it comes out in other ways. It's almost like, what you're saying, I'm just going to kind of piggyback off of that, but it's like I know you said it's a new thing. It's been around. We just started talking about it, or we really started identifying how important it is. But it does really start from like childhood, because one of the things that you said was that, you're taught to, you're the man, you got to lead and all these things like that. And so, and I feel guilty to a certain extent. You met my son when he was in here, but especially when I was a younger mom and I wasn't as in tune with the importance of mental health. I can remember like, my boys like, okay, don't cry, but my daughter, it's okay for you to cry, or, come on, be the little man, and, things like that. And even when you think about the toys that we have for children and how we, raise our children, girls get the dolls and, change your baby's diaper, and it's nurture, 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 and the baby's crying. But boys, you get the trucks and you get to jump and you get to swing and fight and all those things like that. And we don't encourage the boys to express their feelings and emotions. And so it starts very young. Now, knowing what I know, I'm sitting here like, ooh, I'm sorry. Whatever woman meets this child, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, because he is not we're working on it now, but it's like that foundation is so hard once that's kind of built within you, because, showing your feelings as a man. And that's why I wanted you on here, because I can only imagine that, as a woman, I can call my friends and say like, I'm having a bad day, and girl, let me tell you about this. And I can cry on the phone with my friends. But, think about when you were in your situation, when you were 18, 19 years old, how many times did you call your homeboys and be like, my God, let me tell you about this bad day and I want to cry, my friend. Did you ever do that?
Couldn't. I mean, because that's not the dynamic that's there. Mm-hmm. And a lot of, like, I still got some good friends, but like for them, it's like they're not going through this. And so they can still party, they can still do their thing. Like, they're not necessarily having to face those things. Mm-hmm. I call my mom a lot. A lot of nights crying, a lot of nights, like, and hadn't cried in a while. And it's just like, just flooded with emotions. But I learned through that experience, like, it's okay. It's okay to have spaces where you do that, and you have to be able to have these vulnerable conversations. And so, like, I started having vulnerable conversations with the friends that still, like, kind of showed up. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And
you figure out who your friends are really quickly when you go through things like that. So I don't know if you know or not, but I work in corrections. And so it's a lot of times that I'm having those conversations. I'm like, this is your true test. Your friends are not the people that are there when you're going through the great times and you got the money and you're going through the parties. Your friends are the ones that show up when you are at your lowest, darkest moment. That's how you identify your friends. And it might be time to rethink that. And so, that's amazing that you did have people that stood there. But again, you needed to be on that island so that you could go the direction that you needed to go. So,
Facts.
Yeah. The other thing is that, do you feel that men have a really high, and I don't want to say high, but just that fear of judgment of, what others are going to think or feel if they show or express those emotions?
Yeah, I think naturally it's a protective factor, right? Like, if anybody sees you as weak, then you're like easy prey. Like, they're gonna come for you, or like you're now in this vulnerable place. Vulnerability is like a difficult thing, but what a lot of men don't understand is like there's strength in vulnerability.
Absolutely.
There's so much strength in vulnerability.
Yes.
Being able to be in a position where you are completely exposed, right? Like, not in I don't like how that sounded, but
no, I know what you're saying.
Complete emotionally exposed. You know what I'm saying? Like, it takes a lot of strength, but then also having the capacity to still like stand on what you stand on. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a true man right there. Somebody who can shed a tear, but then still go out and grind and still go out and do what he needs to do.
Absolutely.
And show up in the way he needs to show up. So,
but I think that, and I don't know if it's a society thing, and I don't think that it's just men. And I want to pull women into this too, because mental health is important for everybody. But what I find is that when it comes to emotions, and I'm not talking about the good ones, I'm talking about the ones that are uncomfortable, the ones that hurt. People don't like being in those spaces. And and that's what we generally tend to run from. And so, and I always try to express to people that, you will never understand how good the sweet is without the bitter. You never can know how great good is if you don't have some of the bad. Now, I'm not saying that you have to reside and stay in those spaces, but that's all a part of that human experience. You have to have some of that in order to see the other side of it. And so when you say that there's strength and vulnerability, there's so much power. And it's just like you said, by being on that island. Another thing that I always tell my clients is that, the greatest motivator for change is discomfort. It's discomfort. I mean, if I could do everything that I wanted to do and there was no consequence, if I could just do why would I change?
You wouldn't change.
What's the purpose of changing?
Yeah.
I'm going to keep doing what I'm going to do. So sometimes the very thing that hurts is the very thing that you need to lean into.
Come on.
So, yeah. So this is why I was like, we're not going to go on no script. We just got to let this go. Because I knew that we were going to relate to this. The other thing is, do you feel that men lack kind of some of that emotional language? That was something that I kind of thought about as well. Like, they don't really have the emotional, and I don't want to make it sound like men are not capable, but maybe because of the training and just how society puts these labels on, men are supposed to be strong. They're supposed to be the protector, not the processor. They're supposed to carry all the burdens and all those things like that. So when it comes to being able to express what they are feeling, they really don't know how to put a label on it.
Yeah. I'm gonna take it a little step further. I think all of us lack the understanding of emotion, right? Most people only know about 3 or 4 emotions: happy, sad, angry, and cool. I'm cool or good. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all most people know. And there's hundreds of emotions. I have an emotion wheel in my office that I make my clients go through. Like, when they say, I don't know what I feel, or like I'm mad, I'm like, no, we're not gonna do that.
We're gonna get a little deeper than that.
Are you resentful right now? Are you embarrassed right now? Like, what are you actually feeling?
Yes.
But here's the thing. Like, when I look at men specifically in the Black community, because that's my experience. A lot of us were raised by mothers who were trying to figure out how to make us men, but then a mother
guilty.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's no shade, but like, a mom can only do so much to raise a man, because the way we experience our emotions is similar, but it's going to be a lot different. I think for women, it's easier to just be in that emotional state where it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's right there. I feel it. I got to let you know what it is I'm feeling right now.
Right.
For men, it's not necessarily that, and the messages aren't that. And so, like, when we're trying to process it and when we're trying to communicate it, it's hard. But like, when we look at a lot of these young boys right now, when they're raised by their mom, they become very volatile with their emotions, right? So like, when they feel disrespected, now they're like, oh, what's up? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just reacting to what I feel in that moment. And so instead of being able to say like, yo, I feel disrespected right here, like, let's talk about it.
Right.
So the words aren't there. And I think it's on both parts. It's on the father's part, for one, not being like emotionally intelligent in themselves and being in a place where they can be present for their child. But then it's also on the moms too, because it's like the expectation of like, become that young man, you know what I mean? Like, step up, you gotta be a man, you gotta be this, you gotta be tough, you gotta like.
And I'm speaking from a mom's perspective, is that, I knew that being a single mom, that I know now that I probably tried to overcompensate, because it was like, I knew that, okay, I know that their dad isn't there. And so I really was like, okay, I don't want them to be soft, and I don't want them to be little, girls. And, and so that was what I was thinking. And again, you don't know what you don't know. And so you think that you're doing the right thing. And, I'm like, ooh, how much emotional damage have I caused? I'm like, I'm so sorry for the women that date these young men. I'm sorry. Come meet their mom. She had good intentions, I promise. But, that was the thing, was that you don't know. And so you just really try to push as a woman, what you perceive a man should be. That's what you're trying to push into these boys. And I've heard people say like, oh, women they try to teach their sons to be the men that they want to date. And I was like, no. I don't feel like I ever did that. I just wanted them to be good people. But, I have to acknowledge, and it's Father's Day coming up this Sunday. I'm like, I will never be one of those women that's like, oh, happy Father's Day. Because I'm not a father. Yeah. I can never be a father. I can never replace a father's role. All I can do is provide, a foundation for them to be good people. And that was what my goal was. And so,
and I want to hop in real quick and say, just because a woman is a single mother does not mean she cannot raise a good human being. Like, and so me saying what I said is not knocking the ability to raise a good human being for any single mother out there that might be listening or might be hearing this, like on the replay, whatever it is, like you can do that. But there's just that other facet where like a young boy needs a good man or like a father figure who is stable and who knows who he is as a man to be in their life as well too.
Yes. I want to just take a look in the culture club is going crazy right now. So I just want to take a look in here. Lyric Parker was saying, true, men seeking help can often seem weak. That is a misperception. And that's why we are here talking about this today, because we need to change that narrative. Yanni, that discomfort, baby. Yes. I mean, you have to be in those uncomfortable spaces. SK the Trigger Man, thank you for being a part of the chat. He said, need to end the analyzation of men's emotions through feminist jargon. SK stays on my neck. He's not telling no lies, but he stays on there. And he said that's part of the issue. Yanni goes on to say, I love that your audience is young men and men of color. It is needed. Absolutely. And with Yanni's comment, I'm just going to say how much representation, it matters. When you were going, and I'm kind of going sidebar just based on Yanni's statement, when you were going through everything that you went through when you were 18, 19 years old, I know you said that you had a therapist that you were working closely with. Yeah. Was that somebody of color or was that somebody not?
It was a middle-aged white lady.
Okay.
Her name was Julie. Julie was
Shout
dope.
out to Julie.
Julie was dope.
Shout out to Julie.
She was there, and I had to cling to her. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't have it was cling to her or it was cling to a prison wall. You know what I'm saying? And like I always say this when I explain, like I'm not a dummy, so like I know what I got to do. And like when I first started going through the process, it was like, all right, I'm gonna play the game. I know how to play the game.
I was gonna ask you that.
You know what I'm saying? Like I could play this game. This is cool. Like whatever. I can adapt to my environment. But then, like as I'm doing it, I'm like, oh dang, like hold up, like you seeing parts of me that I ain't even uncovered in a while.
Like, what is this?
You know? And she's like slowly nudging at these parts, and she's like, come on, Payton, like let's talk about this. Like this other stuff, like let's talk about this. And like it was probably like 3-4 months into me working with her that like I finally started to like open up about some real stuff, and it became liberating for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh man, and I could tell she really cared. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was the piece for me that helped, even though the trust factor wasn't really there. Like I could tell, like she genuinely cared for me as a person and wanted to see me do better, and wasn't just like, hey, you got these drug charges, you need to do this. Yada yada yada. I'm gonna go tell your drug court officer. I'm gonna go, and so like it made it easier for me. But for a lot of people, they don't have that. They don't have that, right? Representation is not there. There's not a lot of me's. You can
not a lot of me's.
Yeah, not a lot of you's. You know what I'm saying? We can count on probably 2 hands how many of us. But then
I can count.
In this metro area, there's over 1 million people. You know what I'm saying? There's over, what is it, like 40,000 Black people?
It's quite a few.
That's a lot. And so like, there's no way that we can service every last one of them. And so people are gonna be getting serviced by people who they don't necessarily relate to. And on the flip side of that, like, I hate to say this about the field, you know what I'm saying? About mental health, about physical health, about the medical field in general, right? People are not culturally competent. You know what I'm saying? And so they end up doing disservices to people because like they don't understand like where you come from. They don't understand that a lot of us grew up getting our butt whooped.
That's normal.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's normal.
That's not abuse. That's love.
You know what I'm saying? But like they hear that and they'll be quick to call CPS and like removing a baby from the home, and now like putting them in the system and creating this whole new trauma. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like people don't understand, and they don't try to understand. They just see you as another number. They see you as a client on their caseload, which means they're gonna get paid this. and they keep it pushing and they don't actually care about them as a person.
And there's absolutely a huge difference. And I know that you know from textbook versus real life. And so, the textbook is the foundation for everybody that goes to school, but your lived experiences are like that icing on the cake that make it a little bit different. And so it's so important. But I'm going to tie that into, the distrust of the system. And I think that we kind of covered a little bit of why there is that distrust because of the historical mistreatment, racism, lack of cultural competence, like you said, among providers. And with all those things, you just don't have that space of feeling safe or understood. And, working in corrections, I can honestly sit here and say I have seen it multiple times where people have been misdiagnosed. I mean, you have no idea how many men of color that I've seen that have been diagnosed with schizophrenia. And I'm like, ain't nothing schizophrenic about you.
Yeah.
Not a damn piece of you is schizophrenic. But, and it's like, I think I never would have thought if somebody would have told me 10, 15 years ago, you're going to be working in a corrections. And I would have been like, I know you lying. Ain't no way I'm stepping foot in there. But I realized there's so much value with me being where I'm at because I'm trying to undo things that people like. I have to tell people all the time, you are not defined by your diagnosis. You don't walk up to somebody and introduce yourself like, hey, I'm schizophrenia.
Yeah.
No, I don't care about that. All I want to know about is you, what you're feeling and what is unique to you. And so it's always funny. I'm asking people like, tell me how you feel. And like you said, there's like those 3 common emotions. And I think that those are just comfortable emotions. They really have no idea. And so they'll be like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, no. We gonna make you dig, because every time I'll go, well, are you feeling this? Yeah, that's. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that today. So it's work to be done, but I'm so glad that you are in this profession. Another thing, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, this time is gonna fly. I did not realize this, but one of the last things that I'll kind of, 2 things that I'll go over really quickly is like, that silent suffering, especially when you have people that are dealing with issues. And so, whether it's depression, anxiety, grief, a lot of times I feel like when it comes to men, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but women are really good or a lot better about outwardly expressing those emotions and verbalizing what those emotions look like. Do you feel that men tend to internalize those emotions more so?
Yeah, 100%. Because we were never taught how to externalize them.
Yeah.
And externalizing them was never healthy, right? Like all those messages that we talked about early on, be a man, like don't cry, don't do these things. It just teaches you to internalize the emotional experience, as opposed to, because if I yell, if I scream, now I'm aggressive. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm out of control. Now I'm seen as a threat,
Angry black man.
Exactly.
Scary.
Exactly.
Yes.
I will say, though, there are other ways to deal with them, and people need to learn how to be able to talk about it, because being angry doesn't always mean aggressive response, right? Because there's different versions of anger. There's different forms, and a lot of the ways that we learn them are from our primary caretakers.
Yes.
So like when we see something modeled, now I attach slamming the door, I attach punching the wall, I attach getting loud and getting big as angry, when somebody else might attach anger as like, hey, I'm upset right now and I can't
really
talk.
don't like what you did. Yeah. Being able to just express those emotions. And one of the things that I've seen a lot of times is that especially like with men, is that again, those emotions come out in different ways, whether it's them working a lot because I'm gonna avoid what I'm feeling and I'm just gonna submerge myself into something else. Sometimes it looks like addiction because, the smoking or, if I do this, I don't feel it. I'm numb to it and I don't have to think about it. Or they might withdraw and just isolate, or it could be the aggression. And so, those symptoms look very different in men. And so as women, we have to be careful of labeling that as what it is and maybe do a deeper dive on what's really going on. The last thing before, and because I really want to talk about solutions, is the last thing I was going to say is the access to care piece.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like a huge reason. One, I almost question how much do men really, because a lot of times when I'm talking to younger men, I'll be like, when's the last time you've been to the doctor? And it's like, what?
Yeah.
I know women are more for the preventative, type of care, and they go in for their PAPs and all those things like that. But men, Okay, y'all got to do better. I'm like, y'all got to do better. And so, I know that cost can sometimes be an issue, or not having insurance, or, their work schedules and things like that. But somehow, some way, we got to get men to start realizing, because it's just like you said, if your mind is not where it needs to be, nothing else, because your thoughts become your words and your words become your actions. And if those thoughts aren't right, how are you going to even be able to function and do the things that you need to do? And we need to really start putting a priority on mental health, because, the thing is there is power in the tongue and in your thoughts, behaviors, all of that. So, yeah. I'm like, this has gone so fast. I knew this was going to happen. And so I at least want to make sure that we talk about some of the solutions before we close this out. What do you feel that we can do to get men to be more engaged or be more actively involved in their mental health?
Yeah, I think we just need to create more safe spaces for men. One right now that I really like to push a lot of people towards is my homie Johnny No Good. He has Beyond the Stigma. It's a men's mental wellness group that's hosted on every third Saturday over at Assembly of the Saints from 3 to 5 p.m. There's no charge. You come in there and you really get stuff off your chest. Okay. It's really good. There need to be more spaces and more places like that where men come together and they're vulnerable. Yes. They're vulnerable and they talk, and it's like, dog, you don't always got to be a warrior. You don't always got to be a warrior. You could take your armor off for a second and be exposed. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Another thing is, go talk to a therapist. Go talk.
Sell yourself right now.
get your butt into my office to come talk to me.
Exactly. What's the name of that office again?
Bear Company Counseling. And you can get in there, www.bearcompanycounseling.com.
And I'm going to get your information, because I'm going to make sure that I blast it on my page and share it across 87.9 The Culture, because I definitely want to get the word out. And I have, I did say that I did my homework looking for you on the internet, but I actually did a little word of mouth too. I've heard amazing things, and that you've done really great things. So when I say that I'm going to refer people to you, I'm referring people to you. So they coming. Yeah. All right. But like you said, I do think that having those safe spaces to just really have these conversations. And, I was in my mind thinking, okay, what are some, I know you said church, but what about and I'm thinking about, okay, where do men go? Is it the gym? Do we need to, is there something that could be done? And I don't know. I'm just brainstorming. I don't think the
gym is the space, right?
But
the gym, you got a lot of... You got a lot of...
Let it out, my guy. Come on.
I can't... If somebody came over to... you could probably do it once a month in the gym. Okay. If you come over to me I'm struggling, I'm going to stop and I'm going to talk to you. But if you come to me every day in the gym saying I'm struggling, I'm going to be like, bro, you got to wait an hour, because if you struggling right now, you killing my lift.
But what if they had, and I'm just, like I said, and you're a man, so you're going to have a better idea about this. But how you said that there's something, once a week or whatever at the church, what if they had something? Because everybody's not faith-based. I just have to put it out there that, everybody's not.
Here's what I would say. I think we as men need to be more intentional about not just saying, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good, bro. Oh, I'm cool. Stop saying that and really think about how you feel. Start to identify the emotions. If you've never seen an emotional wheel before and don't know all the emotions that you can experience, go on Google, type in emotional wheel, and go look at all of them emotions. Yes. And next time somebody asks you, one of your friends, one of your homies, say hey, what's up, bro? How you doing? How you feeling today? Really identify what you feeling. And they might be hey, bro, that's weird. What you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Don't make it weird. This is normal. Let's talk about this. I'm not feeling good right now. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm feeling depressed right now. Mm-hmm. I'm feeling down right now. We as men need to do a better job of leaning on our support systems that we do have. Yes. Because most of us have support systems, but we don't use them. Yes. And we also don't offer the support. So I think it's up to us as men to start to create those spaces, because we'll be quick to point to a woman and say, hey, you don't make it safe for me to da-da-da-da-da. Okay, cool. A woman might not make it safe for you, but what are we doing as men to make safe spaces for us?
There you go.
You know what I'm saying?
Some of that accountability have to start within. And that's the thing is that, when you're sitting here saying that, men need to identify, and I think women need to do this as well, to identify, not just I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm pissed off, but we need to identify our emotions as well, because the only way that you're going to get to the root of the problem and find solutions is by really identifying that problem.
That's the first step.
Okay. I think another thing is maybe having services that are more accessible and tailored to, certain populations.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, all populations aren't important, but I just really believe that there is a disparity when it comes to people of color, when it comes to having access to services. And I think one of the things that you just identified was having like a centered support, a support group, of your peers and things like that. Like the church one, that sounds amazing. And, even if there were more spaces of that, and that's where I'm like, you're young, you have that creative juice and all those things going. I'm like, you got to think outside the box with these things. But I definitely think that those are important things to have so that, we can get the word out there and that people can know that it's okay to do this. And, again, I think that having these conversations, just normalizing mental health, teaching emotional literacy, especially in showing that and being a reflection of that. I know I'm better about it now. Like I said, when I was raising my kids when I was younger,
Work in progress. Work in progress.
Yes, but now, I make sure that I'm like letting boys know, it's okay, man, come here, let's talk, and I let them have that space to have those feelings because, again, vulnerability is not weak and there is strength in vulnerability. It really is. The last thing that I would say is that women, I'm gonna put us in here, we need to learn how to support our men without shaming them. I mean, I know that there's a lot of things that as women we think that men are supposed to be in. And it wasn't really until I got into this profession that I really started to realize the weight of the world that men have to carry, especially if you're telling a man like, hey, okay, I want a man, he got to be this tall and he got to make this much money and he got to pay all the bills and I'm gonna work, but my money is my money and his money is our money and you got to take it. That is a lot of pressure to put on a person. And we have to make sure that we are undergirding and the support for these men and not making them feel bad when they have, they got to go out and fight the world. They shouldn't have to come home and fight us too. So we got to provide those safe spaces, women. So we got to do better too. So I'm not just going to point the finger at the men, but when you point that finger, it's always a thumb pointing back at you. So make sure there's a little bit of self-reflection on both sides. So I know that we started a little bit late, but I at least want to ask you, are there any closing words, any closing thoughts, anything that you want to put out there before we close out today?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the big thing, right? This is Men's Mental Health Month, but mental health in general across the board is so important. And I encourage everybody out there, like if you want to succeed in any aspect of your life, right? Like if you physically want to change yourself, right? You're trying to lose weight, you're trying to get in shape, you're trying to do something. If you emotionally or financially want to change where you're at, the only way you're gonna be able to do that is if you start with your mental. That's the only way. That's the key to everything. Because without your mental, you're stuck.
Absolutely.
So put an emphasis on your mental health.
Yes.
Put an emphasis on your mental health. Pour into your mental health. Invest into your mental health. Go talk to a therapist. And guess what? The first therapist might not be it. The second therapist might not be it either. That doesn't mean therapy doesn't work. That just means you haven't found the right one yet. So go ahead, therapy shop. Therapy shop. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Fire a couple therapists.
Right.
And don't feel bad about it. Don't feel bad about it. Because you making that investment now will set up the future that you want to see. Believe that. Trust me. I've been through it. I know so many people and I've helped so many people through it. So pour into your mental health.
Yes. And I'm going to back that up by saying that, a lot of times we focus so much on the physical part of it. We'll go for routine care. We'll go for blood pressure checks. We'll go and check for diabetes and all those things like that. But, and we don't shame people and that's the part that's so crazy to me is that if somebody said, I got diagnosed with cancer, oh my gosh, what a waste of a prostate, it's like we don't shame people for having, physical ailments and problems. Oh, you diabetic? Oh, let's talk about it. Let's work on this. And we don't shame people for those things. We find solutions. And it's like, but when it comes to, and I always like the word mental health as opposed to mental illness. I hate the negative just connotation that comes with it, like, like it's nothing that can be done with it if it's this illness part of it. So we definitely have to change the narrative of how we look at, our health, and mental health is a part of our health. It's just as important. So, and again, like you said, doctor shop, you are not, just because you go to one and that one doesn't mesh with you, that's almost like friendships. The first person you meet is not the person that's going to necessarily be your best friend, but you continue to put yourself out there and go out and hang out. Or dating, the first person you meet isn't the person you might fall in love with, but you continue to go out and put yourself out there. So it's the same thing with anything that you're doing. If they don't mesh up with you, like, hey, what's our treatment plan? What's the goal? We're not aligning. Thank you for your services, but and it's okay. It's nothing personal. If you're investing in yourself and investing in a service, then you need to make sure that you're getting what you need out of it. So absolutely. And then I'm just trying to make sure, is there anything else that we need to cover before we get, this time just flew by. Let me at least go into the Culture Club one last time before we get out of here. Let me see. Oh my goodness, they were. Let me make sure. So SK the Trigger Man, he was saying something about race and sex. Okay, and then Yanni, in your work, do you find that working through traumas, past and present, that men are able to navigate in healthier relationships or marriages? That question is for you.
I got time to answer?
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. It just depends. It depends. Like sometimes it's not necessary to go through past trauma. Some people have really put the past in the past and have come to a place of forgiveness. That's the big thing, right? Like if you're stuck in a space where you're holding a lot of resentments for your past, or you're holding a lot of guilt, or you're holding a lot of shame in your past, then 100% we need to dig that up, and we need to go through that, because that's going to impede, and that can hinder your progress in your current present relationship. So definitely, if that's a space that they're in, but sometimes it's not necessary.
It just kind of depends on how it's interfering or affecting that current relationship. If you need to go down that space, sometimes I think people dig for, why are we digging here? We don't need to.
Sometimes
it's okay.
digging can re-trigger and can bring up stuff that didn't need to be brought
Destabilize and all that. Then the work is even more.
Boom.
SK goes on to say, most men don't acquire the vocabulary for proper expression. We agree. He said, education is primarily focused toward girls. And many times boys have to get a job or hit the streets to help financially support their single mother. Prisons are filled with such stories. And So
I wouldn't say education is focused towards women. I think education, it's not focused towards a gender. It's focused towards a workforce, right? Like it's setting you up for a certain thing.
Right. And and like I said, SK, he comes up with some, he be on it. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I can't. But no, he brings up some valid points. He goes on to say, many people fear introspection, which is much needed for the person to know if they need help. Yes, we are agreeing with you. He says, solution, men think before reacting from an emotionally driven perception. Yes. And he said, as a man, respond, not react. And Yanni said, great show. Yes, I cannot thank you enough for being on here. This was absolutely amazing. I knew I was not going to stay on script. That's why I was like, throw the notebook out, because I don't even need it today. But I want to end on the note of just saying that men don't need fixing. They need freedom. Freedom to speak, freedom to cry, and freedom to say that I'm not okay. And the opportunity to be met with support and not shame. So I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in today. I'm sorry that we were late, but I hope that this information was valuable. I will definitely share all the information. I'm going to get all your information and make sure that I put all those attachments on Facebook and on the webpage and everything like that. So again, thank you. And I see myself for reaching out to you again.
Go ahead. I'm down.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody. See you next week.
Peace.